Welcome back to the channel. This is the Casuals. I'm Jin.
And I'm Saki.
And today's episode is Anime Talks Bofuri, or that's the shortened version of it. The long version of it is actually, in English, is I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max out my defense. We're in the meta game now for anime titles. And I guess as a side note, that's kind of like if you've seen our, I guess, previous anime talks, World Trigger, Do It Yourself, Granblue, and all that, you notice that they're very short form titles, right? A lot of that is because quite a few of them has come from older, and from an older era. A lot of I forgot when the turning point was. I want to say around 2018 or no, 2020-ish is rather when the turning point happened, where titles started getting extremely long. And I remember when I first showed you this anime title, you're just like, why is it so long?
Yeah, because like you said, usually it's, a word or two, but this one was like, here you go, here's a full sentence.
Yeah. And it was just a trend of literally, like, they just describe the main point of the story, right? In this case, it's, I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max out defense. And so, I guess, I discovered this by chance, first as a manga, and then I found out there was an anime, and I watched the anime, and I was like, I really like this anime, and Season 2 had just been coming out. But during that time, we were still watching World Trigger and a few other animes, and it wasn't until recent where I was like, hey, let's watch, we're gonna from now on refer to as Bofuri. Let's watch Bofuri, right? And to be honest, I didn't know if Saki wasn't gonna even like it, because it was very different, the formatting. Because if you look at our first anime that we both love dearly, and which is World Trigger, it was a logical progression with logical character development and very logical steps. There was no typical, what you would call typical anime style fights where one would power up through the power of friendship or some power of BS, right? It's tactics upon tactics upon tactics. And so and then we went to comedy style, right? With Granblue, which is full on comedy, and that didn't really need to be logical. It was just more of a fun storytelling. And so moving on to this new type of, I guess, series, which is Bofuri. It follows a girl playing a game, a VR game, right, where their whole body, not whole body, but basically they're sent into a virtual world, as in they can move their whole body, not like our current standard of VR, which is you put on goggles and you kind of try and interact with these things. No, they can just lay down and put it on, and they get sent into the game world. So yeah, it basically follows a character who doesn't want to get hurt, so she maxes out defense. That's quite literally the premise of the story, but even then I thought it was gonna be a little bit I felt like you were gonna be lukewarm to this at first, but surprisingly you seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, I did actually enjoy it. I mean, in the beginning I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And then after we started watching, okay, this is kind of interesting, the game they were in, per se. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting how they, created the world and, how things are done, I guess, in that world.
Yeah, there was no typical RPG elements, you have a skill set that you level up, and then you go with that, and then you branch off to a different tree. It's literally almost like real world application, you know what I mean? You have to discover things on your own.
Yeah, I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah. But at first it was like, oh, interesting concept, and then it just turned into whack.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
So our protagonist, she goes by, her full name is Kaede Honjo, but she goes by Maple, because you don't use your real name typically in the internet and in the online game. And she's a person who's very normal. She's never played any games before. She's never really had any experience, which was indicated. So she's completely new to the game, and but because of her best friend Risa, Shiromine, or known as Sally, introduced her to a game and says, let's play together. And then, she wants to play with her friends. So she was like, oh, you know what, I'll try it. And so she gets put into game one. She has no idea what to do. She gets introduced to basically your class selection, right? It's not class selection. It's more like a weapon selection, It's a weapon suggestion.
Yeah.
And so there was like multiple different ones, like great sword, shield, staff, bow, the typical stuff you would normally see in a variety of like RPGs. And then she got to the one where she saw a great shield, and she was like, oh, since she had no idea how VR worked, she was like, I don't want to get hurt. The idea of taking pain is scary, so I'll go with the great shield because it seems to have focus on defense, right, and taking no damage. And she chooses that, and then she gets into the world, and oh yeah, she doesn't go into the world right away. She has to select her stats, right? Because there are stats in this game. I don't remember exactly all of them, but there's like agility, vitality, HP, speed, or not speed, a few others, strength, and I think intelligence. Those were the 5. And she's like, oh, vitality increases defense, and she just goes all in on vitality. And do you think that was like the first warning sign of something's going very off?
Yeah, when she just put it all into defense, I already knew. I was like, okay, this is gonna be weird.
And sure enough,
I was gonna say, because usually, you want a little bit in strength, maybe 1 in defense, or maybe a little bit of speed. You kind of spread it out usually. You don't usually go all in on one stat.
Yeah. And so immediately the consequences of her actions are already slow, where she can't move as fast as other players in the game. And it's because, in order to go faster, you need to have agility points added into your skill stat or into your stats. And she has 0 skill points into the, or 0 stat points into agility. So she walks very slow, only because she has a lot of defense, right? And so, she goes through a lot of things. She finds out, like, that she was not supposed to. Someone points out that she's not based. She meets a person named Kurome, who basically points out that, you shouldn't have put all your points in defense because you can't catch up in speed. And she was like, oh, but then she was like, you know what? I'll stick it out anyways because I might as well figure out how to play this game. And the first, I guess, weird encounter, or the weirdness starts to ramp up when she finds the first mob, which is a seemingly harmless bunny. Do you remember that bunny?
I think I do.
Yeah, it was like a cute little bunny, and then, like, she feeds the bunny, and then she's like, oh, how cute, and then the bunny charges at her, and it hits her stomach.
Jeez, it was feels like such a long time ago.
It was quite a long time ago. So the bunny hit her stomach, and she's like, oh, it tickles, right? And she thinks she's playing with it. When in reality, it's like those level 1 mobs, literally for beginners to kill, And then, like, it just keeps hitting your stomach, right? And then it literally time skips to 1 hour later, and the bunny is still hitting her stomach, and she's still laughing and having fun. And then it accidentally runs into her shield, and it dies.
Okay, I remember that.
And so that's the first sign of she's kind of weird. Like, she doesn't, like, because she doesn't understand how games work, that she doesn't, like, grasp the concept of killing things, right? And so when the bunny dies, she's like, no, bunny! And so that's the first, like, really big, like, warning sign that she, like, things are gonna get weird. And the next biggest weird thing was, remember she fell asleep?
Yeah, I think I do remember that.
She was like, oh, I'm so tired from playing with the bunny, and so she fell asleep, and then it's shown that there was bugs all over her trying to attack her.
Yeah, all the different, like, mobs are trying to, attack her when she was asleep, but they weren't doing anything.
Yeah, they were doing very little damage to her because, again, this is a level 1 area, so the mobs virtually are by design are not supposed to hurt you, or kill you. along with the assumption that you're not encountering so many at once, but there's a ton of monsters on her. Obviously, they whittled down her HP little by little, but she woke up and managed to kill them and gain some levels. And then she's like, "Oh, I have some or stat points I can use. Time to put them all into vitality, which is defense, you know."
Yep.
And you're like, "Ah, yes, this is where, you know, I understand now." And so it follows a lot of, like, you know, shenanigans later on. And the first big shenanigan is when she decides to go into a dungeon in order to get materials in order for her to look cool with a shield, right? Because she's wearing the beginner equipment. You know, beginner equipment doesn't look cool. You want to look better, right?
Yeah.
And so she goes into a dungeon. You know, she clears it by, you know, shield smashing, which basically means that she falls on top of them with a shield. Highly effective, honestly. You know, a lot of weight. You die by, you know, getting crushed. And she goes in and she encounters her first boss. And, you know, the boss kept on, you know, it was a giant lizard, like, you know, almost dragon type thing. You remember the three-headed dragon, Hydra?
Yeah.
Yeah, the poison. And so he kept on poisoning her, and she's like, "Oh, let me just heal," because she has abnormally high defense, but she still takes a lot of damage from, you know, the DOT, or damage over time, poison status effect. But she managed to out-heal it until she gained poison resistance. And here's the thing: your actions in this game, her actions in this game caused her to acquire skills, and, you know, because she took so much poison damage, she gained poison resistance. That's the idea behind the game. And so at some point, she became completely immune to poison. She's like, "Well, what can I do now? I don't have any equipment." And I think the next thing she did surprised you, Saki. Do you remember?
I think didn't she start eating it?
Yeah. She got grabbed by the Hydra, and then she bit it and ate it. And then she was like, "Oh, it's spicy." And then the dragon dropped her, right? And she's like, "All right, let's do this." And she runs up to the feet and starts eating it, remember?
Yep. She just started munching away.
Because it was spicy. And then, or no, it wasn't spicy. It was like kind of like, it was a different flavor. And then the poison breath came in, right? To, you know, poison her while she's eating the dragon. And then she's like, "Oh, this adds a little bit of spiciness to it." Remember?
Yeah. It's so weird.
And she was like, "Thank you, Mr. Dragon." And then she keeps eating it, and she eventually defeats the boss because she ate it. And then she became completely immune to, like, you know, even a step further for poison immunity. I don't remember specifically what it is. And then, you know, she gets her first, you know, the treasure chest there, she gets her first job, which is a very unique equipment because she cleared it in a way that no other player cleared it. And she gets like a black outfit, which is mainly, if you were to look up Bofuri, that's her main outfit. You'll see her with that outfit 90% of the time, right?
The black and red.
Yeah, the black and red. And so immediately after that, she gets involved with the first event, game event that happens. And it's a PvP event, literally just battle royale. You're set in one place. Whoever gets the most kills and survives, you also have to survive. But whoever gets the most kills gets the most points. Meaning, if you get the most points, you get you're ranked whatever accordingly, right? And you remember this, that she was just sitting there, and these three people, remember the three brothers?
Yep.
They're like, "Oh, the three assassination brothers that, you know, even if you dodge the first and second one, you can't dodge the third, right?" And then she does paralyzing shot, and she paralyzes them, remember?
Yep.
And then she uses her main function of a shield, which is, her shield can devour things, right? Literally just one-shot devour things and consume things. And in turn, it gives her, like, I think, like, MP or something like that. So it basically refills her ability to use the thing. And it's infinite, essentially, during that time. And so she ate the three brothers with the shield. And then another person came up and was like, "Yeah," you know, and then, like, smacked her, right? And then you remember it was that with a what's it called, mace?
Mace?
Yeah, or something like that. And then, like, it hit her in the head.
I don't remember that.
Oh, no. So there was a group of people. Remember, they started surrounding her, like all those people who wanted to kill her.
Yeah.
And then one of the big burly dude came up with the big morning mace, like a morning star mace. And he smacked her, right? And and it bounced off her head. Do you remember that? That giant ass hammer like mace?
I don't actually.
Oh, so a giant ass hammer bounced off her head, and you were just laughing because it was so dumb. And she felt no repercussions because she has so much vitality, right? Or defense. And so after that, like she comes out successful. She comes in third. And what's it called? And starts to become more famous because she's a girl who took 0 damage. And also has, conveniently her armor set and weapon also came with the fact that she can use Hydra, which basically summons a poisonous dragon.
That's right. I remember that.
And it can blow poison breath, and just poison everyone to death. Combine that with paralyzing shout, no one can move and they just take poison damage constantly.
Didn't she end up devouring like over 2,000 players or something?
Not devour. She only devoured the first, I think, about 50. And then after that it was poison, and then they all died to poison damage.
Oh, okay. I thought it was all devour.
Yeah. And so, that's basically the idea, or like the gist of how wacky and funny it is. And so let's get to I guess the overall vibe. So what did you think about the overall vibe of the anime?
I thought it was pretty fun. It was, kind of like adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So, you did exploring, and you can, you play with your friend like online kind of thing, and then
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminded me of Craftopia almost.
Yeah.
Kind of gave off those kind of vibes. It was like open world, kind of explore at your own pace kind of thing. Then there's, the bosses, dungeon bosses, and all this other wacky stuff.
Yeah. I remember I talked to you about this, one of the biggest reasons why I loved it was because, Maple stayed true to herself, right? She just wanted to enjoy the game. And what she found was fun was literally just playing with friends and exploring, areas that she's never been before, because, it's such a new concept to her. Because if you imagine, you've never been exposed to a game, you lived your life, like a normal, person, right? And you're suddenly thrust into a world of a virtual reality world where you can see just the creativity of whatever the game developers had made, right? And so you can look at these beautiful worlds. And so it's so pure in that sense where she wants to explore all these areas because she you would normally never see it in real your day-to-day life. And she has never lost that that sense of purpose, I guess, or that sense of goal. And I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed it so much, because it's shown time to time where she's literally there just to have fun with her friends. She's not there for meta. She's not there to be the number one, like some other players were presented in the game. She's just there to enjoy her time, and it was very clear. And I think you even and I believe you had the same sentiment too, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think seeing that joy, right? That joy of her, kind of pure joy of seeing someone enjoy a game to its fullest really made me happy, because even nowadays, when I play new game or something like that, I tend to just look up guides right away, how to do this efficiently or how to go up to this, level up fast or something like that. And then after watching this anime, it kind of makes me it kind of made me step back and think do I really want to be looking up guides? Do I really want to be trying to do the thing the fastest way? When I'm playing, especially when I'm playing a new game, and I realized that a lot of the fun really comes from just trying something new, especially within game, right? So looking up guides, trying to be the meta builds and everything really ruined a lot of fun. And I think fun for me in games, and I think even developers are kind of guilty of this, for trying to create a path for players to by creating a game intentionally where you want players to grind as fast as possible and also create meta builds, meta classes, and it becomes very tiring in that sense. I don't know if you've experienced that more recently, or if you've noticed that in other games.
Uh, I think the one that we really kind of like would have to grind to be, good or to keep up with the constant updates would be like Borderlands.
Yeah.
Because it'll be like, oh, you have the best stuff. Well, we just released a new DLC and it has better stuff for your character, and you'll want it because otherwise you kind of suck.
Yeah.
And it's
Um,
just like you just grinded like 20 plus hours getting the best stuff, and then they're like, oh, here's an update. You're pretty much useless again. And it's really tiring. And
it is tiring.
you kind of just hope you could just like I'm even guilty of it. I'd be like, man, I just was grinding for 20 plus hours. I finally got it, and then all of a sudden new stuff comes out, and I'm like, I really don't want to do that again. I wonder if you look up a character build and you just download it so you have it, so you don't have to do it.
Yeah. I think, and if we look back to it, like the first time playing Borderlands for you and for me, it was so much more enjoyable. Why? Because we had no idea what the game was going to be about. We were experiencing it firsthand, right? We didn't know if there was guides. Like, we didn't look up guides. We didn't.
Nope. We just
we didn't,
discovered on our own.
Yeah, discovered on our own. And every time we discovered something new, it was so fun because we didn't know what it was. Like all these legendary guns that had wacky effects.
Yep.
And that kind of magic disappears over time, especially when you play the content over and over again, or the new content kind of encourages you just to simply, try taking the shortest path possible to reach there. And so a lot of games are like this nowadays. It's very rare you find a game, if there hasn't been even a game in the more recent years, of giving you the ability, or giving you the sense of feeling that you don't need to look up guides, you don't need to worry about getting there the fastest. You can just take it at your own pace. I guess one game would be Elden Ring, for example. I have not played it, but it seems to play out that way, just judging by what I've seen online and what my friends have talked about. But the drawback to that is that Elden Ring is pretty hard because it's a Dark Souls-like game made from the same developers. So it's not really meant for me, and I guess maybe for you, for like those hardcore, you die, you lose a lot of things type deal.
Yeah, that's not my style.
If there was like a casual version of it, we would love it. Like, almost no penalty for you messing up or anything like that. But yeah, it's very rare. So I guess moving on to the next topic, I guess this is something that we usually do, is favorite character. And I already know what the answer is going to be for you, but what is your favorite character from Bofuri?
Does it have to be a person?
It does not.
The turtle. The turtle is the MVP of the series.
I had a feeling you were going to love the turtle.
The turtle. Nothing beats turtle. Nothing beats the turtle.
I think it was even better because it's named Syrup.
Yes. Maple, the person who owns the little companion turtle, named it Syrup. So Maple and Syrup. That was, I think, the greatest name you could ever come up with.
And you just loved it. You absolutely loved it. And oh my god, I just remember, like, because like I had a feeling this was gonna happen because for the first time I showed you what's it called, World Trigger, you loved the capybara. It was your favorite by far. And so
or OP, yeah.
Yeah, and so I thought this was gonna be the same exact situation where you were gonna love the turtle, and sure enough, you loved the turtle.
Dude, whenever it speaks, it just says turtle.
Yeah, it says comment.
It just says turtle. How can you not love it?
And I think the best part was, at one point, this is going to be a little bit more spoiler, a lot more spoiler territory, but I mean, you got into this point, so I would assume you've already watched it. But so with the event number 2, Maple got a reward from the event, and she used that reward to buy a certain skill. And she bought 2 skills, which was psychokinesis and megamorph. Or metamorph. And so what would happen is she made Syrup, the turtle, grow into a gigantic turtle, like very huge. Like, you're looking at the thumbnail, that's Syrup right there. or like the the background image of the giant turtle. That's Syrup, and then she makes a fly with psychokinesis,
Yep, flying giant turtle.
and you were just like, oh my god, it's gotten even more perfect.
I mean, what else can you do? It's just the greatest build ever. A fly, like in this show, it's just like if you're not Maple and you're just like walking around, all of a sudden you see a big shadow above you. You're like, whoa, maybe it's like a dragon or something. And no, you look up, it's a flying freaking turtle with a girl on it.
Who can also throw down acid rain on you.
Who can't? Yeah. You just don't, it's just so unexpected.
Yeah. And I think the greatest part was, Syrup used spirit cannon, or what I like to call it, Kamehameha. Or Kamehameha. Remember?
Yeah, it's just like, okay, you spirit cannon, and it's just this big old laser coming from it. And you're just
Yeah,
like,
and it says
oh.
Kame. Every time, dude. And then, like, whenever the turtle got hurt, you were like, these bastards.
I know you should never hurt the animals. Come on.
Yeah. Oh man, every time the turtle came on, you were just like, turtle.
Yeah, anytime I saw the turtle, I'm like, turtle better do something.
And it did. And so yeah, there was a lot of like, I think this anime was really enjoyable. There's 2 seasons. First season was really like fun. Second season is a little bit harder to enjoy because the pacing was all over the place. I remember you complained about it because very reasonable too. You were just like, whoa, like suddenly we're here now,
Yeah, because it's shorter episodes. I think there were like 12.
Yeah.
And so, they want to, pick up the pace a little, but it's like one episode you're at end of event, whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're on to the fourth event. And I'm like, what happened to everything in between? Just skips it.
Yeah.
And you just kind of slowly find out like what happened.
Yeah. I don't necessarily blame the anime producer or something like that because we'll get to it in a bit, but like yeah, they made the decision to like speed up a bit because I guess it wasn't that important. I don't know if it was also like glanced over in the light novel because this is mainly a novel series, but yeah, I don't know if like they glanced over. I think it was event like 3 or 4 or something like that. They skipped, or no, 4, or it would have been the 5th event. Sorry, and then they skipped the 5th event and went on to the 6th event immediately. But yeah, like. I don't know if it was I'm pretty sure it was the anime decision at this point, but yeah, like I don't blame them because at the very end of season 2, you're introduced to like 4 new characters. Like you don't know the name, you don't know anything. They're just introduced you to 4 new characters. Like at the very end, like we're talking about like literally at the very end, which kind of sets up for season 3. They're teasing it for season 3 essentially. They almost like saying like, hey, there's probably going to be a season 3, get prepared because we introduced these, because normally I feel like you would never introduce a new character at the very end of the season if you had no idea if you were going to even make a new season, right?
Yeah, right.
It'd just be weird, like like 10 years pass and someone like maybe from 10 years in the future is watching Bofuri and they're like, there's only season 2, and then they look at the very end and it's like, wait, why these characters are being introduced when there's no season 3, right? That'd be weird. And so yeah, we expect to see season 3, but season 2 just finished in April. So we're probably not going to see season 3 until like minimum next year. It takes a long time for animes to come out between seasons. So yeah. Overall, what would you rate Bofuri? I guess we'll split them into 2 just because I know you have had different experience. And then we'll combine, or I guess we'll all have one overall. So for season 1, what would you rate it out of a 10?
I would say a 9. It was pretty good.
Pretty good. Just like, you enjoyed it, you had a good time,
And it made me want to watch season 2.
Yeah. And then season 2, what would you give it out of a 10?
Honestly, I think season 1 was better, but season 2 is still good. Quick little comment for me, I guess, on season 2 was it kind of lost focus on the whole title of I don't want to get hurt, let's max defense kind of thing.
Yeah.
and in the anime, she just gets a bunch of ridiculous like powers, and
Mm-hmm.
she basically goes from max defense to max offense.
The American way.
And I was just like, oh, that kind of takes away from the whole thing that they were trying to go for.
Yeah.
So I would give it maybe it's I'd say an 8. It's still good. It's just kind of lost its
Yeah, the
vision.
vision. Yeah, 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 I understand. And then overall, with both seasons combined, what would you give it?
Um, I'd say maybe 8.5 to 9, about the same as World Trigger.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's pretty high. This is the second high rating, anime that we have had. So I'm glad. I mean, like, these are all like, animes that I'm introducing to you. You don't go out of your way to look for animes because you don't need to. You don't, it's just me basically saying, hey, let's watch it together,
Yep.
in hopes that you would enjoy it. So like I'm very happy that you still enjoyed this. And generally I think we both really enjoy like the comedic style of animes, because when animes, I always feel like any other anime outside of World Trigger tries taking itself super seriously, um it becomes less enjoyable because it's specifically anime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when animes just take to the almost like the fantasy, like, fictional sense of like, hey, this is a story, let's just make it like, if our focus is to make it, like, viewers enjoy, like, have a good time, have smile and everything, then let's do it, right? And then, it's pretty successful because it's an anime. You can do a lot of crazy things that, you would never see, like, as in like real life actors doing these kind of things, right? And even if the real life actors would be able to pull off, it would be a lot of CGI and it would feel really weird to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, imagine this trying to be a live action. It would never be able to do it, like.
No, I don't think it would be successful.
Yeah. So yeah, that's, I guess that's our, anime talk for Bofuri. If I haven't mentioned it already, I love this anime. I would probably give it around a 9 too. Again, this is not looking at it in like a critical way. It's just how I feel about it, which is a 9 out of 10. So yeah, that's it for, anime talks. Hopefully the next time we talk about another anime, it will be enjoyable. And if not, we'll still talk about the reason, if we didn't enjoy the anime, we'll still talk about why it wasn't enjoyable, and hopefully it'll give you a sense of, what we are actually looking for in that sense. But yeah, I'll end it off here today. So I'm Jin.
And I'm Saki.
And this is The Casuals, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.